Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to another FIFA 22 video where today we're going to be checking out the 4-4-1-1 formation. As we did say in the last video a couple days ago, that I did want to start trying out a couple new formations, and we was going to be bringing out lots of new tactic videos for lots of new different formations, just trying some new ones out. And today we're going to be starting off with the 4-4-1-1, which actually was an unbelievable formation last year. So I wanted to start with this in kind of this new drive of new formations that I want to try out today. But if there are any other formations you'd like me to try out, do let me know down in the comment section. I'll do my best to get those videos made for you guys as quick as possible. So without further ado, I wanted to go into the instructions first. Now, Donnarumma, of course, with all goalkeepers, I always recommend going for comes for crosses and sweeper keeper, especially if you have a very, very tall goalkeeper. And Donnarumma is a brilliant goalkeeper. Other than the times then he is really, really bad, because sometimes he is terrible. In terms of the fullbacks and the centre backs, of course, the centre backs want to be on stay back while attacking. But in this occasion, we're going to have the fullbacks on stay back while attacking as well. Now, the reason for this is the little sort of tactic, I guess, that I use when it comes to sometimes having my fullbacks on balance, sometimes having them on stay back while attacking. Number one, how confident you're playing at the moment. I feel like I'm playing some good FIFA. I feel like I'm defending quite well with the lack of defenders and the lack of bodies back. But generally, it depends on the formation. Now, this formation, as you can see, has left and right midfielders. Generally, any formation that has width in front of the fullbacks, I don't then send my fullbacks forwards. So, for example, the 5-2-1-2 that I love, the wingbacks, there's no width in front of them. They're the ones that have to offer the width. Therefore, I send them forward. In this formation, there's width in front of the fullbacks, so I don't need to send the fullbacks forward. Yes, I could have them overlapping, but in this occasion, there's already width, so I don't need the fullbacks, which means I'm going to have that extra sort of solidity in defense, which is going to make me a little bit more difficult for my opponents to get so many easy chances. Now, in terms of the midfielders, Pogba and Kante, we're going to have them both on stay back while attacking, and we're going to have them both on stay on edge of the box as well. Obviously, the stay on edge of the box is to neutralize any counter-attacks that could come, rather than having those guys getting into the box. Balanced attack, because they're both central midfielders. Ideally, Kante, when I was playing, Kante is not the best player if we're going to be using him in that box-to-box midfield role. So generally, you want maybe a Bruno here, maybe a Fekir here would be very good, maybe De Bruyne, someone like that would be someone that has a little bit of defensive qualities, but generally is very good in both boxes. And obviously, Kante is not that player, but Pogba is great. So that's how we're going to set up the midfielders. Ideally, we're going to be using them as box-to-box mids. If you are someone who wants to be a bit more aggressive, you can have them on get forward. If you want to be a bit more defensive, then you can stick them on stay back while attacking. But that's how I'd recommend setting up the midfielders. In terms of the wide midfielders, now the wide midfielders generally are the most difficult to kind of get involved into the play because their starting position is quite deep, so it's difficult to get them involved in the attacking play. So you kind of have to get them involved more in the build-up play rather than so much the attacking play. Don't expect lots of goals from these positions because their starting position is so deep. Hard to get them involved in the play. So you can see that we're going to be using the basic defensive support. Don't want them on come back on defense. Not really necessary in this formation. We're going to have them on balanced width. Now, we could have them on cut inside, and that's going to make your formation a little bit maybe too narrow, and it could almost turn into a little bit of like a 4-2-2-2 in a way. You're going to have it's going to be very compact. It's going to be very tight, and it's going to be maybe a little bit too easy for your opponents to do. You could also have them on stay wide, but now you're going to stretch the pitch out horizontally, which is going to make, you know, some space in the midfield, because if Silva's on the ball, he's going to have to pull out a midfielder or a fullback, which is going to then open some space up for somebody else. But I decided to have them on balanced width, just to kind of get a bit of both, because again, regardless of what you really do, you're not going to get the midfielders, these wide mids, involved in the attacking play too much. You've got to get them involved in the build-up play more than anything. So having them on balanced allows them to do that. Making sure they are on getting to the box. Again, Bernardo Silva was quite poor in this because he's not the fastest. Again, if you're going to be using the getting behind tactic, you do want someone who is relatively fast. But we do want them on getting to the box, because when we are dominating possession, we do want to have the extra bodies in the box. Now, generally, I have a lot of the ball. and that my playstyle allows me to have these guys getting into the box and getting those scoring opportunities from time to time. Now then, Firmino, and now we've gone with the 4-4-1-1 formation. Now this is the one that has the centre forward. The 2 brackets formation has the cam. Other than that, it's exactly the same. I personally think that the centre forward version is a little bit more useful. The difference is that we can now set Firmino to play as a false 9, so he's going to play as a centre forward, rather than in the cam version he would just be on, you know, we'd have to use the free roam tactic and get in behind, get into the box for crosses instead. In this instance, we're going to use the false 9 tactic. We're going to have him on balanced width just so he can drift around in the space behind Son, but he's still going to be that false 9. He's never going to run beyond Son. He's always going to stay behind him, and just means that he's always going to have that link between Pogba, Kante and Son. He's always going to stay in that false 9 position. And then Son, who is your quicker striker, so whichever of your 2 strikers is faster, wants to go up front into the stay central, getting behind position, and whichever one of your strikers is more of kind of a creative playmaker. So if you're someone that's playing with maybe Inaki Williams and playing them with Benzema, I'd put the Benzema in the centre forward position and the Williams up top, the quicker striker up top, and the more creative striker in the centre forward position. Now moving across to the tactics, a little bit different today. We're going to be going with pressure on heavy touch, because I did want to start adding a little bit of a press into this formation, because the 4-4-1-1 is a very good formation to press in, because there's not a lot of space between the lines. Only really the fact that we don't have a DM is the only real option that your opponent is going to have out, but you've got to get through six of our front players really to get into that sort of cam position, where then he might be able to exploit some space that we have. But this is one of the best formations in the game, in my opinion, to press in. So I wanted to go for pressure on heavy touch. I didn't want to go for press on possession loss or constant pressure. Bit too aggressive. You're just asking for trouble, in my opinion, if you play like that. But pressure on heavy touch just means in certain scenarios, when the opponent takes heavy touch or a loose touch or something like that facing their own goal, your team's going to squeeze up, and it's going to yield you winning the ball in certain positions, which I think is going to be really helpful. And this is a great formation to press in. Defensive width, is going to be on around about 50. Standard, we want to keep it exactly the same in this formation. The depth, as we've alluded to many times before, this is really depends on how comfortable you feel. If you feel very comfortable at the moment, I feel like I'm comfortable enough to play on around about 65. Again, I think this is quite a compact formation, difficult formation to break down, but it's also a great formation to have lots of possession in. So I feel like it's a formation that I feel more comfortable playing a higher depth, and the fact that we have the fullbacks staying back as well means that that back four is always going to be in position, so I feel more confident to play a higher depth. So I'm going to play on around about 65. In terms of the build-up play, we're going on slow build-up. I just think that works really well for this formation. Again, it's quite a compact formation. A lot of your players are quite close together, so you could play fast build-up as well, but I feel like slow build-up just, for me, suits me in this formation a little bit better. I found it to be a bit more effective than fast build-up. Wasn't a huge fan of fast build-up, certainly the first time. Maybe I'll go back to using it and try it again in a couple of weeks and might have some more success, but this time around I found slow build-up was the best. Of course, pairing that with direct passing worked extremely well, especially for Firmino. He was making some great darting runs, playing balls into Son. Pogba was getting forward really well. Occasionally, the two wide players as well were getting in some great positions to potentially cut back goals. So that worked very well. And then the offensive width, we're going to go on around about 65, because we are going to open that midfield up a little bit. And we are going to sometimes have the wide players staying touched on the wide as the touchline. So we want to have a little bit of width in this formation, because again, we don't want to be too cramped. I do want my players to be able to move and not sort of stepping on each other's toes. It's just going to allow that direct passing to work a little bit better, because we're going to be stretching the pitch out a little bit, which means it's not going to be so compact where direct passing won't work. Your players aren't going to be running into a defender, they're going to be running into space, which is what's needed for direct passing to work very well. And then players in the boxes on 6, corners on 3, and free kicks on 1. So they're my 4-4-1-1 custom tactics. Very happy with this formation. Would I necessarily say it's better than some of the other formations I've used? That's debatable. I need to use it a little bit more. I did use it for about 10 games so far in Rivals. I've had some very good success, 8 wins and 2 draws. Haven't been defeated in this formation yet, so that is obviously a very good sign. Absolutely love these tactics. They were very good, so I'm looking forward to using them. Maybe this weekend in Foot Champs, I'm going to give this a run and see how it goes. and then maybe in a couple of weeks we'll do an update on this formation if you guys want to see that. Also, let me know in the comment section any other formations you would like to see. Make sure you drop a thumbs up if you did enjoy the content as well. It does help us out massively, and subscribe as well if you are new to the channel. But that is all for today, guys. Have an awesome day. I'm out.